Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be talking about the cast for the Borderlands film that is currently in pre-production. They haven't actually started principal photography yet, although I believe they are done writing the script. But they are currently in the middle of the casting process, and there's been a lot of names that have been attached to this in the last couple of months. Now, today we got the most recent one, which is Tiny Tina, but I'm going to go through all of these casting choices so far and just kind of give my thoughts. Now, they haven't cast Mordecai, they have not cast Slab. Or Brick, sorry, Brick. They haven't cast either of those characters, and I don't think they've cast Angel or any of that stuff. They've only done a few of the other main characters. So let's just go down the list, and we'll go down the list from the earliest casting to the more recent. And one of the first ones that was cast was Kate Blanchett as Lilith. Now, I actually like that casting. I think she can pull that off. And a lot of people I know that said that she might be a little too old or whatever. Like, I'm sorry. I saw her in Thor Ragnarok. She is still smoking hot. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think she can rock it as a redhead. I think that she'll do fine in that role, and I think that she can be commanding again because of her role as Hela in Thor Ragnarok, which I thought she did a relatively good job at. And I think it's probably going to be a somewhat similar role and a somewhat similar tone, except she's not going to be evil. Then the other one that was really early, which this one I do not agree with, is Kevin Hart as Roland. I don't know who made that choice, and I understand the idea of making it comedic and stuff like that. And Kevin Hart is your comedy guy. I understand that, but you couldn't have gotten Roland's not. He's the straight man out of all of the people in Borderlands. If you look at the way his character is portrayed, he is the straight man out of all of them. All the other ones are kind of goofy, but he's kind of the one that always stays somewhat serious. And I think you could have gotten better choices. I think maybe Idris Elba would have probably been a perfect choice to play him. You probably could have looked at some other people. I know John David Washington, maybe, even though I know he's probably getting picked up for a bunch of shit. So, Kevin Hart, I don't really think that's a role that's necessarily right for him. Now, the next one is Jamie Lee Curtis as Tanis. That's another one that I find kind of weird. I would say it would be a perfect casting if this was like 20 years ago. But obviously the game would not even exist if it was 20 years ago. But Tanis is this very fast-talking, eccentric scientist, at least in the first game, before they kind of weird that out later. But she is, this really fast-talking, very, very brilliant scientist. Now, I think Jamie Lee Curtis can pull that off, but again, it just feels like she might be a little bit too old to be playing that part. I think that maybe they should have probably tried to get somebody a bit younger for that. But again, that's me splitting hairs on that issue. I don't think she'll do a bad job at that particular role. But I think that you probably could have gotten somebody who may have been a little bit more adept at it. Now, the next one that I also think is perfect casting is Jack Black as Claptrap. I'm sorry, Jack Black can do the level of energy that Claptrap has. And having him play that character is perfect because he's just going to be voice acting unless they're going to try and fit his fat ass into a trash can or something. But I doubt that'll be the case. But as far as his voice and his mannerisms and the way that he can dial it up to 11 like in an instant, I think that is perfect casting. I would say if I was going to actually fan cast a Borderlands film, I would probably pick Jack Black to play Claptrap or somebody on that level. But I think that it's good that they got him. I think that he's going to be entertaining as Claptrap. And now the kind of the mystery one that got announced today, which is Ariana Greenblatt is going to be playing Tiny Tina. Now, she's been in some actually pretty big movies, but in sort of bit parts. She was a young Gamora in Avengers Infinity War. She was in Love and Monsters. She's been in a lot of other kind of random sort of things lately, but she's been picked up for a lot lately too. She's an up-and-comer. But she's also a kid, so they are sticking with the kid version of Tiny Tina. They're not going to the weird teenage version. But supposedly she blew them away in the audition, so I don't know what to say on that one. I don't think it's a bad choice. I think that you at least got somebody who somewhat looks the role and is the appropriate age. So that's a plus, but I'd have to see her actually, talking and in action before I can make a judgment on that. So overall, I actually like a lot of the casting choices. The only ones that I really have issues with are Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Hart, mainly Kevin Hart, because I don't think he should be playing Roland. I think it's a bad casting choice. But moving into some of the other aspects of the film outside of the cast, you also have all the stuff involving Eli Roth is going to be directing this film. Now, a lot of people have criticized that, and I think that they could have gotten somebody better than Eli Roth, but at the same time, Eli Roth knows how to film gory action. He knows how to do, blood and guts and explosions and stuff like that. And that's mainly what Borderlands is. Um, so I understand getting him out of that respect. And the other thing that I kind of like about this is they're not having him write the film. He is not credited as a writer on this film. He is just a director. And that's the problem that I have when they do a lot of films like these, is when you have the director and the writer be the same person. Because you can do a good movie with a director who's kind of a D-bag as long as he's not writing it. If he's just there to do his job as a director, film the scenes, do what he's supposed to do, and throw his little flair in there, but don't change things to a disturbing degree, then I think you can still have a good film. So I'm not putting a nail in the coffin because Eli Roth is the director. Although it doesn't give it any pros either. It doesn't give it any pluses that he's the director, because again, he hasn't really directed anything. I think extremely good recently. I know he directed The House with Clocks on Its Walls, but I don't necessarily know how that did financially or the reviews on it. I didn't see that movie, so I can't judge that. But outside of that, I know he hasn't done a whole lot in terms of relatively good films lately. And the two writers that are actually credited on the film are Aaron Berg and Craig Mazin. Now, Aaron Berg is green. He's very green. And when I say that, this is like one of the first screenplays that he's credited on as a writer. Craig Mazin was the executive producer on Chernobyl. He was the creator of that show, and I love that show. I thought that miniseries was great, and I know they're thinking about maybe doing one on Fukushima next, which I think I'd like to see that as well. But he was the creator, and he was also the writer on Chernobyl. And then on top of that, he wrote the latter Hangover films, which okay, that's really not anything good. And he also wrote Scary Movie 3 and 4. 3 was funny, 4 was eh. But there are various things that really the big thing I'm looking at right now is Chernobyl, because that was a really good series. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he knows how to write well, even though Chernobyl is nowhere close tonally to what Borderlands would be. I got to give the guy some credit because he did that show, and he did that show well. But it's a mixed bag, because a lot of his older stuff is not that good. A lot of his older stuff is, the Hangover sequel. Whenever anybody thinks of the Hangover, they think of the first movie, because the sequels are just retreads of the first movie, basically. And whenever people think about Scary Movie, they think about the first two. They don't think about anything after that, because they started to suck. 3 was kind of a happy accident, and 4 sucked. So there's not much going there outside of Chernobyl, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because of that one show. And then outside of that, we don't have a whole lot. Like I said, we haven't cast Mordecai yet. We haven't cast Brick yet. I'm assuming those casting choices will be coming up in the near future. And on top of that, we also haven't gotten Angel or any form of an antagonist for this. All of these characters that they've cast so far have really kind of been on the good guy side, quote unquote. If there really are any good guys in Borderlands, it's most people are just blowing the shit out of people. Also, I'm curious if they're actually going to put TK Baha in there, because I'd really like to see that, because he was funny. But like I said, I don't know what plot line they're necessarily going for with this. They might be going with the first game, or they might be going with the second game. The second game obviously has a stronger antagonist with Handsome Jack, but I don't know. It could go either way at this point. there's a lot going on with the casting, and there's a lot that could still happen with this production. But I can't really say too much on it until I actually see a trailer. But as of right now, I like the casting choices outside of Kevin Hart, and a little bit of Jamie Lee Curtis. And I'm curious what you think. Do you like the casting of this the Borderlands movie so far? Are you excited for it? Do you think Eli Roth can pull it off? Do you not? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?